Big Bang Attack! I'm gonna take my time and savor you properly.
What?
Well, what happened to all of that confidence you had a minute ago?
But I'm supposed to be the best!
In a lost timeline that takes place before the events of Dragon Ball Super, the wind blew gently over the rubble of the city, now completely deserted. The silence was disturbing, interrupted only by the sound of firm footsteps that echoed on the cracked ground. Cell walked with a confident posture, his imperfect body still reflecting his determination to achieve the perfect form. He knew that time was running out, but his calculating mind had already drawn up a plan. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind Trunks. It was Cell. He had heard the entire conversation with his mother Bulma. Yes, Trunks had managed to destroy the androids before Cell could arrive in time. Trunks' face was serious. He knew that the confrontation was inevitable. Cell said, "Ah, Trunks, what a surprise to find you here. I expected you to be hiding and happy with the end of the androids. After all, you destroyed them, didn't you?" Trunks replied, "Yes, Cell. I destroyed Android 17 and Android 18. They will no longer cause destruction in this world. And because of that, you will never reach your perfect form." Cell laughed, a deep menacing sound that echoed throughout the surroundings. He crossed his arms, looking at Trunks with a sarcastic smile. Cell spoke, "Do you really think that will stop me? I am Dr. Gero's ultimate creation, a perfect fighting machine. If I can't absorb the androids, then I will find another way to reach my full potential." Trunks replied, "No matter what you do, Cell, I will not let you continue with your plans. This world has suffered enough because of you and the androids. I will stop you, even if it is the last thing I do." Cell took a step forward and looked at Trunks with disdain, as if he were facing a child challenging an adult. Cell spoke, "You are brave, I admit, but courage is not enough to defeat someone like me. You may have destroyed the androids, but that does not mean you are my match." Trunks clenched his fist, his determination growing stronger by the second. He knew Cell was powerful, but he also knew he could not back down. The lives of everyone on the planet depended on him. Trunks replied, "I do not need to be stronger than you, Cell. I only need to be smarter, and I have something you will never have, the will to protect those I love." Cell laughed again, but this time his laugh was shorter, almost irritated. He did not like being challenged, especially by someone he considered inferior. Cell spoke, "Protect, love, these things are insignificant in the face of absolute power, but since you insist on being an obstacle, I will eliminate you here and now." Without warning, Cell shot toward Trunks, moving with incredible speed. Trunks barely had time to react, raising his arms to block the blow. The impact was so strong that he was thrown backwards, sliding across the ground. Trunks replied, "You may be strong, Cell, but I will not give up." The two warriors collided in the air, exchanging quick and powerful blows. Each impact created shockwaves that destroyed everything around them. Trunks fought with everything he had, but Cell seemed to always be one step ahead. Cell said, "You are impressive, Trunks, but you are still no match for me, and I have some sad news for you. I do not need the androids to become perfect. I have something much better in mind." Trunks looked at Cell, confused and desperate. Trunks replied, What are you planning?" Cell laughed, his voice echoing like thunder, and said, "You'll find out soon enough, because I have a visit to make. And since you've suffered enough, I think I'll let you live for now, young Trunks." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Bulma was in her lab, working on a new project. She knew the world was in danger, but she also knew she couldn't give up. She had to find a way to help, to protect those she loved. Suddenly, the lab door was ripped off its hinges and Cell walked in, his body imposing and menacing. Bulma replied, "Cell, what are you doing here?" Cell looked at her, his sinister smile returning, and spoke, "Bulma, the brilliant scientist, I have a proposition for you." Bulma looked at Cell, her eyes filled with fear, but also with determination. Bulma replied, "I won't help you, Cell, you're a monster." Cell laughed, approaching her and said, "Oh, but you will. Because if you don't do what I want, I will destroy everything you love, and I'll start with your son." Bulma felt a chill run down her spine. She knew Cell wasn't bluffing. Bulma replied, What do you want? Is my son okay?" Cell stopped in front of her and said, "Don't worry, your son is okay. But in order for him to live, I want you to modify my body. I want you to help me absorb the Saiyan warrior race so that I can reach my perfect form." Bulma looked at Cell, her mind working quickly. She knew she couldn't just agree, but she also knew she couldn't refuse. Then she had an idea. Bulma replied, "All right, Cell, I'll help you, but you need to give me time." Cell smiled, satisfied, and said, "You have 24 hours. If you don't do what I asked, I'll destroy everything." Cell then left the lab, leaving Bulma alone with her thoughts. She knew she had to act quickly. She couldn't let Cell reach his perfect form, but she couldn't face him directly either. So she set to work, her mind focused on a single goal: to deceive Cell. Time passed and the clock struck 24 hours, and Cell arrived at Bulma's laboratory with a triumphant smile plastered on his face. He knew that the scientist was his last hope to achieve the perfect form, and now he was confident that she would fulfill her promise. Bulma, in turn, was sitting at her work desk, holding a small glowing chip between her fingers. Her face was serious. Cell spoke. "So, Bulma, did you succeed? Is the chip ready?" Bulma replied, "Yes, Cell. This chip will reprogram your body so that you can absorb the bodies of the Saiyans. But before I hand it over to you, I want assurances that you will not hurt my son." Cell laughed, a deep, menacing sound that echoed through the walls of the laboratory. Cell spoke. "Guarantees? Are you in a position to demand anything from me? I am the supreme force in this world, Bulma, but for now, I will play by your rules. Hand me the chip." Bulma hesitated for a moment, but eventually reached out and handed the chip to Cell. He took it carefully, examining it with interest. Cell spoke. "Very well, Bulma. Now, let us test this marvel of technology." Cell inserted the chip into a slot in his arm, and immediately his body began to glow with an intense light. He felt a surge of energy course through his being, and for a moment he thought he had finally achieved his goal. Cell spoke. This is incredible. I can already feel the power of the Saiyans flowing through me." Bulma watched silently, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She knew the chip would work, but she also knew there was a price to be paid. Suddenly, Cell looked at Bulma with an evil smile and said, "Now that I have what I want, I don't need you anymore. But before I say goodbye, I'll show you what happens to those who try to deceive me." Cell turned and with a quick movement, extended his tail towards a dark corner of the laboratory. From there, he pulled Trunks with one attack. He was unconscious, but still breathing. Bulma screamed, her eyes filled with terror. Bulma screamed, "No, please, Cell, don't do this!" Cell said, "Did you really think I didn't know he was here? Trunks is a nuisance, and now he'll pay for trying to stop me." Before Bulma could react, Cell used his tail to attack Trunks, who fell lifeless to the ground. Bulma fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Bulma screamed, "You're a monster, Cell! I'll never forgive you for this!" Cell laughed, looking at Bulma with disdain. Cell spoke, "Monster, I am perfection, Bulma, and now thanks to you, I am closer than ever to reaching my full potential." Bulma glared at Cell, her eyes filled with hatred and sadness. Bulma replied, "You may have killed Trunks, but you will never reach your perfect form. Goku is already dead, and Trunks was the last Saiyan alive. You will never get what you want." Cell stopped, his smile slowly fading. He glared at Bulma, his anger growing by the second. Cell spoke. "What are you saying?" Bulma replied, "I knew you would betray me, so I only agreed to make the chip because Goku was already dead, and you didn't know it. You lost too. After all, you will never have your perfect form." Cell screamed in rage, his aura exploding in an intense glow. He felt the chip's power starting to fail, and his anger only grew. Cell screamed, "You will pay for this, Bulma. Damn it, I need to think of something else." Suddenly, Cell started laughing and said, "You can try, Bulma, but I already have a plan. If there are no more Saiyans in this world, then I will find others. I will use the time machine and travel to another universe where I can find new Saiyans to absorb. And when I return, there will be nothing you can do to stop me." With these words, Cell entered the time machine, determined to find new Saiyans. Guys, and so we conclude the first part of this epic story. Are you curious to read the full story? So what are you waiting for? Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Bye.